Scene Mom says, welcome to the podcast from former Phoenix radio host Danny Cutler. Each week bringing you independent music, industry news, the occasional interview, and other fun segments. Let's get to it. Scene Mom says hello and welcome to episode 100. I'm Danny, your host and Scene Mom. Thank you for joining me. 2.5 years ago, I began this podcast about 6 months after moving to Massachusetts. I was pretty burned out from my time on the radio in Phoenix, but I knew I wanted to keep in practice and also get to know my new local music family. So what better way than starting a show and featuring these artists on it? I have become a fan of so many new to me musicians since starting the show, and many have quickly become friends. And I've also expanded because now I'm playing independent music from all over the world, mostly the US, yes, but globally, there's so much good music out there. And I know I started with 10 songs an episode. That was a little too much for listeners. I get it. It's a podcast. You're not listening like you listen to radio. Brought it down to 5 or 6, and now I'm doing 4, and it's helped for sure because the listening spans for podcasts, everyone's very focused and they want to listen and hear what's going on. But with music, that's more of a background thing. So I think I figured out a good formula for the show, but it makes it hard because there's so much new music every week that gets dropped. And when you're only doing 4 songs a show, you back up really quick. That's for sure. But I just do the best I can. And I appreciate every musician who keeps sending me music. And I guess this is just kind of a long apology of not being able to play your music in a timely manner, but it still gets played. Yeah. All right. So what are we doing on the show? I was curious with all of the music news that I have covered in 100 episodes. A lot of stuff over 2.5 years. I was wondering what the top stories were. So this episode is going to be a recap of sorts. I am also going to play music from some of my favorite ladies on this show. I also want to take this time to remind you about that DOJ Live Nation settlement. I did post a video about this, but just in case, I want to remind you that you can leave a public comment showing your support or opposition to the agreement until September the 4th. Now, a reminder as well, the National Independent Venue Association, or NIVA, is one of the organizations that does oppose it, and they're calling the settlement insufficient. The executive director says that the settlement leaves Live Nation with Ticketmaster, with its artist management business, the festivals, clubs, and theaters, and with the power to package a tour and route it into buildings that it controls and sell every ticket. Now, that is a structure a jury already found to be illegal, so the settlement doesn't get rid of that. What the settlement does is require some movement on ticketing exclusivity. Artists at certain Live Nation amphitheaters can sell up to half their tickets outside of Ticketmaster. Fees at those venues would be capped at 15%, and the venues would have more flexibility to choose non-exclusive ticketing contracts. So there are some good concessions, but critics say that it doesn't go nearly far enough, and I happen to agree with that. So here is how you make your public comment. You can email Live Nation public comment at usdoj.gov. You can also submit through regulations.gov. You just have to search Live Nation, which is kind of interesting because you can read some of the comments that are being made. And again, the deadline is September 4th. And a few things worth noting: comments can support, oppose, or recommend changes, and be aware that they're going to be posted publicly with your name attached, and then they get filed with the court, and the DOJ is required to respond to them. So I'll be curious to see what happens after that September 4th deadline. And I will keep you updated on what happens. I also want to tell you about my dear friend, Chelsea Louise, who is the lead singer of Phoenix band Fairy Bones. In May of 2025, she fell off of a stage during a performance due to that venue's negligence. From then until January of this year, She was in constant pain and x-rays couldn't find anything. It turned out that she had this hairline fracture that, of course, kept getting worse. Then she accidentally slipped and broke said hip, and then she required emergency surgery. Since then, she's also had some awful financial things happen as well. So this really strong woman, and I'm not even exaggerating, she avoided it for as long as possible. She set up a GoFundMe to help out with her rent. Now, I know that things are really tight for everybody currently. I mean, just gas prices alone, right? But if you are able to give a little and help her out, I will put that link in the show notes. And you can also Venmo Fairy Bones Music. I really appreciate the consideration. She is just the most wonderful woman. I've known her for, my gosh, probably a good decade now, to be honest. And she's the kindest thing, and she is super creative and super smart, super talented. She definitely doesn't deserve the string of events that she has happened to her. I mean, she's so much younger than me, and she broke her hip, you guys. So yeah, if you can help, she would definitely appreciate it more than me, but I definitely appreciate it too. Since I'm talking about Fairy Bones, let's get back to the music. I'm going to play a track off of their album, 0% Fun. It only seemed appropriate to play this one, and I know she'll appreciate it. This is No One Can Suffer Like I Can, and you're listening to What Scene Mom Says.
Feel no pain, wouldn't you say I'm all alone? Take me out and watch me bleed, then you'll see the fight in me. I've never spit a single fucking word that didn't bite. I don't want another pill to make me feel alright. 4 years of abuse to the system, can't win 'cause I can't listen. No one can suffer like I can. Hey, hey, grabbing at straws with things alright. I wish my hands knew something more than jittering outside your door. Why am I so in your face? You fill me with empty space. Why do first impressions always seem to go awry? It's like my nervous tics are starting to get out of line. I'll let the sun burn my bones, leave me in the sands of my home. No one can suffer like I can. Hey, hey, grabbing at straws with my hands. Whoa, whoa. No one can suffer like I can. Hey, hey, grabbing at straws with my hands. Whoa, oh, everything's alright. Yes, everything's alright. I said nobody
As I said, in lieu of music news this week, going to do a recap of the top music news that has been covered on the show in these past 100 episodes. And I'm going to start with number 5, which is arts and public media funding cuts. They weren't like really hard-hitting stories, but they were important enough to bring up since they certainly affect independent artists. NPR PBS funding was slashed. New Hampshire and California Arts Council budget were fighting over those budgets, library funding cuts, and the FCC investigating public radio stations. Definitely not as flashy as the other stories, but so important to keep track of, especially for independent artists, because independent artists use independent journalism and media to help promote their music. All right, number 4. Shifts in social platforms like TikTok, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Bandcamp, and what they mean for discovery of music. TikTok had constant changes. The local feed, shop shipping cuts, podcast network, songwriter tools, and of course, the US ownership deal. YouTube pulled data from Billboard. SoundCloud made a new subscription model. These are the things that keep shifting under artists' feet, and most musicians don't know until they get screwed over in some way. Number 3, streaming platform fairness for indie artists. So Spotify, I talked about Spotify a lot. Repeat character. The investigation from the FTC, that big payola lawsuit, an indie artist filtering lawsuit. There were bot and fake stream removals, and the Impala report on the 2-tier streaming system that keeps pushing independent artists out. What concerned and still concerns me is the system is really rigged, even more so against indie artists now. And it's again so important to keep an eye on this because what is happening with these streaming platforms, it changes constantly. And I really try my best to stay on top of it and bring that information to you. Number 2, we talked about it at the beginning of the show, the Live Nation Ticketmaster issue and the ticket scalping mess. So, I mean, the stories that just won't go away. The DOJ antitrust case with the guilty verdict and Live Nation appealing. Now this public comment period and the eventual settlement with states still pursuing it. Then don't forget StubHub CEO got caught scalping on his own platform. The UK banning resale for profit, Trump's executive order on price gouging, and Massachusetts Governor Healey's new bill that I talked about just last episode. It's kind of like a serialized drama, and I just don't see where it's going to end. And finally, the number 1 story I've talked about in 2 years, which will shock no one, AI in music. It was the number 1 recurring topic. Shows up in nearly every single episode in some form. I mean, as far back as AI clone scandals, I talked about King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Timbaland stealing beats, Zania Monet charting on Billboard, Zania Monet being totally AI, not even a human. Platforms that have been fighting back, so Bandcamp banned AI outright, Spotify trying some crackdowns, Apple Music's AI transparency tags. There's been lawsuits galore. Sony versus Udio, the Musicians Union versus Universal Warner, the Anthropic training data ruling, and fraud, the first ever criminal AI streaming fraud conviction, and Sony pulling 135,000 deepfake songs. Will it let up? Nope, because this isn't just the number 1 piece of news I've been covering. It's still and will be for quite some time the number 1 issue that artists have right now. And like I said, any way I can help indie musicians and any artists for that matter navigate this issue, I will. And the number 1 way to do that is to bring you the information. I mean, I scour feeds every week trying to find music news that I think is going to help independent artists mostly, but it can help any artist and any musician. There it is. Top 5 music news stories in 100 episodes. Actually, I'm surprised that Firefest didn't make it because I know for a hot minute there I was talking about that in a few episodes, but I bet it was in the top 10.
I cast a trying to bring me down. I took to rest. Anyone who didn't want to see me do my best. I took a stand. Now I understand. There's a list of motherfuckers trying to bite my hand. I wrote this song. Oh, we didn't get along. 'Cause I didn't let you make me do the things I thought were morally wrong. I see you. You don't think that I can see the real you.
That was Central Massachusetts artist Amanda Melly with her latest single called I. I'm so happy to know this woman. She was also on the show for a two-parter in episodes 73 and 74. If you want to go back and take a listen, she's just a beautiful soul and has a great story. C-Mom says it is time for some music history. On July 29th in 1984, Prince became the first artist ever to simultaneously hold the #1 song and star in the #1 movie in America, as When Doves Cry sat atop the Hot 100 while the movie Purple Rain dominated the box office. And on that note, same year, 1984, on August the 4th, Prince's Purple Rain hit #1 in the US, where it stayed for an extraordinary 22 weeks, and it was one of the longest chart-topping runs for any album in history. On August 1st, in 1971, George Harrison hosted the Concert for Bangladesh at Madison Square Garden, the first major charity concert in music history, and it was a blueprint for Live Aid 14 years later, with guests including Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, and Ringo Starr. On August 1st in 1981, MTV launched for the very first time, airing the very first video, Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles. It forever changed how music was consumed and marketed, even though the MTV video model isn't there anymore. And on August 2nd in 1962, Aretha Franklin made her television debut on American Bandstand, performing Don't Cry Baby and Try a Little Tenderness. It was an early glimpse of a voice that would define soul music for decades. And that is some music history for you this week.
I wanna be the one you can't do.
that was Boston band Jennifer Teft and the Strange with A Little More. I haven't seen them live for quite some time, and I do really miss them. They're so great live and, of course, recorded. Remember that links to all the music you hear is in the show notes, and I do also tag the artists on my social posts. So please follow them in all of the places and listen to all of the things. Also, on Bandcamp, you can get these artists, which makes a perfect reminder that Bandcamp Friday is coming up on August 7th, which, depending on when you're listening, is today or tomorrow, or you missed it. Ha! Artists receive 100% of the proceeds that day. So set a reminder. The next one after August will be September 4th.
Suddenly too late, I find I'm closer to the line. And I wonder if I'm in the clear or if I'm compromised. And when I look into the camera, it's another eye I see that's been watching every movement, taking everything for free. Standing with a sword as the angers burn around the edge like an underscore. Climbing up along the ridge and climbing up along the walls, and then in between the stories told as the sun's begin to fall.
If you're a regular listener, no, I did not do a marketing tip this week, but I'm always available for consultations or to just see if I can help you with something you need for your marketing. Just go to DannyCutler.com and you can find out more there. And you just heard another Boston band. That was Lavina Falls with Tragedy. I picked Lavina Falls and Jennifer Teft, not just because they are kick-ass artists. They are two of the bands that I got to know early on after moving here. Same with Amanda Melly. I found her music super quick after moving as well. And I hope you will check out all of the music heard in this episode and the 99 previous ones. I actually, on Spotify, I have a playlist that is all the music you heard on the show in 2025. So that's a great way to dive right into some independent music. And with that, that is it for episode 100. Links to all the music and news you heard this week will definitely be in the show notes. If you have feedback, you can always get in touch on social media. Scene Mom Says on Facebook and D Cutler AZ everywhere else. And you can also follow me on all of those places. And you can email me to scenemomsays@gmail.com. And of course, if you like what you hear, would really appreciate you sharing. It does help support the artists. It helps me too. Thank you as always for listening. Here's to another 100 episodes, and you'll hear me again soon. You've been listening to the Scene Mom Says podcast. Intro, outro music is Look Good for the Radio by Fairy Bones. Learn more about Danny and the show at dannycutler.com.